Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. I'm Gianni Battici, the FPL guy, and I'm joined by Football Insider, Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, how are you, mate?
I'm okay, mate. Yeah, it's been a busy week. Obviously, transfer-wise, it's been pretty mad,
Yeah.
as you'd expect. But yeah, as well as that, at Ranks FC, we released a documentary today on the Athletic Club. So we've been busy, just making sure that's trying to get in front of a few people. So it's been fun. It was a good documentary to make. If everyone is interested in the story of Athletic Club, I'd love you to go and have a look over on YouTube or at Ranks FC. We went for like 4 days and just followed the club and learned everything about Athletic Bilbao, and it's an amazing club. It really is. If you ever get the chance to go to a game, then just go, because the place is insane. You basically, if the gist of what it takes to play for Athletic Club, you've got to be Basque. They only pick players from the region. There's always been this debate, like, imagine this was the case for everyone. Imagine if you had to be from Liverpool to play for Liverpool. You had to be from Manchester to play for the Manchester clubs. It'd be brilliant, but it's never going to happen. But Athletic Club have this unique identity. So it's been fun, mate.
And to be like a club that's still in and around the European places every season, knowing that's their catchment,
It's unbelievable.
I didn't realise. I was watching your documentary earlier today, which definitely recommend. And it's about 15 minutes well spent. I didn't realise they had a brand new stadium, or fairly new stadium. I'm guessing they've only had it for a few years.
Yeah,
But
they have.
I didn't realise they had that sort of level of investment as well.
Yeah, it's an amazing stadium, and it's in the same spot as their old one. They've just kind of turned it as they've built it. It's been honestly, it's awesome. It's right in the middle of the city too. Like, it's easy to get to. All the fans walk down there like together. Like, it's this street that kind of leads towards it. Brilliant. But yeah, anyway, let's get to FPL. But that's been my day. Now we've got focus on what's to come, and like,
Mate,
fresh off the
loads.
press. Fresh off the press. Normally we're doing team news. It's not really about team news tonight, because the freshest news is going to be, well, transfer news that does affect team news, really. So we'll get onto that in a minute.
Yeah, and we'll be touching on the double game weeks as well. Loads of you watching will be aware that the Premier League have announced that in game week 22, both United and Leeds will double. And we'll see how that affects the schedule. Also in game week 23, remember, both Man City and Arsenal double. So there's a few double game weeks coming now. If you've still got your triple captain, Rashford has a double of, I think, Palace and Leeds at home, for example, in 22. Although that might not go ahead if either club have an FA Cup replay. So we need them not to draw to get that double in the FA Cup, that is. But we'll talk more about that in later in Fresh Off the Press. We'll also be looking at our teams. We'll be doing Against the Obvious, which, if you're new around here, is loads of fun. We sell the idea of not owning a popular pick. And we'll be answering your questions, as always, before tomorrow's deadline. So we're here with you between 7 and 8 p.m, so for the next 55 minutes. And I look forward to chatting with you for the next hour. Make sure that chat is active. CH and Mark and Frode and Dal and Evan, FPL Big Ed and Punter. So many familiar faces and some new ones too. Hayley, good to see you, and FPL River and Daniel. But let's move on now to Fresh Off the Press.
Yeah, so massive fixture again this week. Remember last week I did tip Man United to beat Man City. I did. I said I didn't trust bringing in your Man City assets or even triple captain in Haaland, because I did not think they were going to beat Man United. And I was right. This weekend it's Arsenal against Man United, who are now in a title race. I'll tell you what, this week I'm going to say draw. I would be saying Man United, if Casemiro was available, if he wasn't suspended for this, I would be going Man United win.
Would you really? Yeah.
I
Even
would.
the way Arsenal have been playing at home as well, you'd still... I mean, United have been playing well.
I would. This season is not all going to go Arsenal's way. There is so long to go, and there are going to be obstacles they have to get over. And I've got a feeling this game is going to be a sticky one. So yeah, anyway, there's my tip for the weekend. I'm tipping Man United to get something at the Emirates. But of course, the news that affects us in FPL too is that Trossard is joining Arsenal. I don't think this is a good signing. I don't like the money. I think the fit's okay. I think for a team that's top of the league and trying to win the Premier League, and they're in an unbelievable moment, I think it's okay if he's signed as well as somebody else. Don't think that, for me, Trossard is getting Arsenal over the line like a João Felix would have. I said in our podcast, I think I'd rather have João Felix for 5 months than I would have Leandro Trossard for 5 years. And
Oh,
like that's a bit
I love that.
controversial, I know, and I'm not doing. I'm not even doing this for hits. Like I was getting nothing out of it. But like Trossard's a good player.
He's never getting in the 11.
Well, this is what I was thinking, and from an FPL point of view, I was like, he's had some really good form this season for Brighton. Look, let me know in the comments, by the way, if you think I'm talking absolute nonsense here.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't picked him all season, and he's been a great player at Brighton in FPL terms, especially. So why am I now going to consider him for the Arsenal team?
Oh, Tony likes the call. Tony agrees.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he gets in the team. I don't think. One thing I would say is like maybe if he plays in cup competitions, he's giving Arsenal the possibility of keeping, other players that are so key to the 11 fresh for league duty. Yeah. Maybe that's it. FPL Big Ed doesn't like it, does he? But I just think that, look, I get it. Trossard was available. It's January. It's hard to find players who are of international quality, who are of Premier League, have Premier League experience, who are available. And at 20 to 27 million pound, wherever this deal actually ends up landing, it doesn't seem like a bad deal. I'm just not that fussed about Trossard. Even the centre back.
What about Smith Rowe? Where does this leave Smith Rowe? For like first attacking bench option, you've got when everyone's fit, Smith Rowe and Nketiah. What is Trossard going to be third attacking sub when everyone's fit?
Yeah, maybe. I just want to address Punter. He said, Dean, what happened to your mic stand? Looks like you're reporting fresh from the press on site. What's happened is that I've got 2 routers in my house, and the one that I'm usually on, where I usually sit, that was not working. So I'm actually in the living room at the moment, and there's nowhere to put the mic. So I have still got the mic stand. It's kind of resting on my stomach and in midair. So
how did I not notice that?
Yeah, apologies for the look, but the Wi-Fi will be fixed by next week, so don't worry about that, Punter. But yeah, in terms of this Arsenal team and how it shapes up, I don't feel like Trossard is having a massive impact. Look, let me know if you're thinking of bringing Trossard into your team. Then fair enough. Referee Ring says Trossard will share minutes with Martinelli, making them both poor FPL assets. Is he though? Is he really going to share minutes with Martinelli? I can't see it. No. I just can't see it. He's not. Like you're not taking Martinelli has a
huge dip in form, but as it stands, like Martinelli, yeah, there'll be some 70, 80-minute subs for Martinelli, but he gets that anyway. Instead of Smith Rowe, it might be Trossard coming on,
This is it. So João Felix, I'm going back to it. £10 million for 5 months. I know it's a ridiculous amount of money. That could win you the league. That signing could win you the league. He'll produce moments that will do that. Trossard over the rest of the course of the season, I just don't think will influence it enough. Yes, he'll keep those players being available potentially to stay, fresh. But I don't think he's going to produce the same moments. So there you go. Look, Nuclear doesn't agree with me, but that's because he's still hurt about what No, it's because he's hurt by the fact that I was saying stuff about Messi in the World Cup. So that's fine. Nuclear's going to hold that against me forever.
You beat up Real Madrid too many times, maybe, or players. It's an interesting one with Trossard. Like he's available. The price was okay for it, but I just question with Arsenal, like he's not going to get in the 11, so he doesn't improve your 11, and maybe to guarantee or to get you over the line to win the Premier League, they needed investment in that 11. But you could argue if Felix comes in, who drops out? And would you don't want Felix sat on the bench? I mean,
I think that's good. That's genuine competition for places.
True. Okay, that everyone else ups their game.
Yeah. Martinelli can't complain about the fact that João Felix has taken his spot.
Yeah.
If Trossard does take his spot, he's going to be like, "What?"
That's fair.
Not happy with that.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair point.
No, I know. Like, I'm not even like. It's not like I hate Trossard or anything here. In case people are reading that wrong, that's not what this is. It's just I'm just not sure it changes the landscape of Arsenal's title race that much. Anyway, I want to move on to the second signing, which I do like, is Danny Ings to West Ham, and the reason I like this is from an FPL point of view. Do you know what? I'm even thinking I might bring him in.
Wow,
I actually am.
Not this week though.
Maybe not this week, but maybe.
He plays Everton.
This is a massive game for West Ham, and they're talking about the fact that he's ready to go. West Ham have got Scamacca injured. Michail Antonio's got the ump and is going to be sold.
Surely Antonio plays against West Ham.
I don't know if he will, mate. Like from what I'm hearing at West Ham, like they are genuinely thinking of selling him this month. That's why they're trying to sign Moffey at the moment. So they have 2 new forwards coming in.
Yeah.
Michail Antonio so I hear, like his application hasn't been great. Maybe his attitude not either. I mean, I'm just going by what other people have told me, so I can't totally verify that. But it would add up. West Ham fans, I've been reading comments from them today. They don't want Antonio playing. They want Danny Ings playing. Can you imagine Danny Ings fired up for this game and goes for it? Do you know what? I've got Martial to get rid of in my attack this weekend. I'm half tempted. It's obviously a gamble because Ings could well be on the bench. But that is a game West Ham have to win, or Moyes is losing his job. He's going to love Danny Ings. Like David Moyes will absolutely love Danny Ings. Tempting. I'm telling you, I'm tempted. Also, I think Aston Villa are mad here. They must have something great up their sleeves. I mean, they've played down the idea today of Danjuma signing.
Emery's boy.
So they must have something good. I understand, like Danny Ings isn't really quick enough to play the type of football that Unai Emery wants to transform to, but he was their only goal scorer. Like he's
every time he comes on, he looks like he's going to score, and he'll get goals at West Ham, and he'll suit David Moyes' style if David Moyes is there long term. But yeah, he likes playing for teams in claret, doesn't he? Burnley, Villa, now West Ham. Danny Ings. He does seem to get goals wherever he goes.
I haven't taken many punts this season, but I really am considering this.
Interesting. I'm going to try and convince you to sell Martial for a different budget forward, which we'll get to later.
All right, cool.
He may or may not be Italian.
Okay. Just finally, obviously, Mudryk, Graham Potter talking about him today. He's available. He's going to be available. He's been training. He's obviously not in top condition. He obviously hasn't got any actual form to show at the moment.
Since November competitively.
It's a long time. I mean, I'm told that Chelsea aren't really expecting him to find form until like late February because he's had so much time off and so much uncertainty. He genuinely thought he was going to Arsenal when he's ended up at Chelsea.
Yeah.
There's a lot to deal with there. But Mudryk, what was his price in the game?
Oh, he's coming at like 7.5 mid or 7 million mid.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, if he starts to look like the player we've been told he is, then that could be an absolute steal. Like couldn't it? Yeah. I mean, you pay 9.7 for Sterling, you pay 7.5 for Mount. Well, you could get this kid who's potentially should be outscoring them at 7.0.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one to look at. I mean, let's see. I mean, we might get our first look at him very, very soon, and it's worth keeping an eye on. It's like when João Felix played against Fulham.
Yeah.
He looked awesome. And I think, to be honest, everyone should have an eye on João Felix's return, which will come in a couple of weeks or a couple of game weeks, because he was so good in the 58 minutes that he played that I think he actually will be worth considering. This Chelsea team, by the time we get to March, is going to be a totally different animal to the one that we've been seeing. They'll have players back from injury, and they now have new signings bedding in too. Chelsea will probably have a very strong end to the season. That's part of the reason why Graham Potter's job is in no danger at the moment.
Dean, I've just looked for João Felix's price as you're speaking.
Yeah.
I couldn't see him. I'm on my laptop. I'm scrolling through the Chelsea players. I'm like, where is he listed as a midfielder? Because I'm sure he was a forward. Can't see him in the midfield list. I get to the bottom of the forward list and it says page 1 of 2. I have never seen the FPL website on a player list show it needs a second page of players. And then you go page 2 of 2 and there's 3 players on there. Andre Santos, Fofana, both haven't played yet. And João Felix on -2, which is why he's bottom of the list because he's on minus points. But yeah, it's unbelievable. He got that big a squad. He's 7.5 forward. That's the thing that gets me. It's the forward bit.
Yeah, that's right.
But still, as you said, you were there at Craven Cottage and you saw those glimpses. He's a level above, isn't he?
He is. He lifted that Chelsea team to a level they haven't been at for some time. As I say, this week, as I'm looking at someone for Martial to take over his spot. If João Felix was fit and I had enough, I would probably push to get something like that. But as it's not, I'm currently looking at Danny Ings.
Loving that. Dean, you might want to pluck out some questions on transfers because there's some good ones. But when you're looking through and doing that, let's show the double game week fixtures because there's been some announcements in the last, couple of hours around a double game week for Leeds and Man United. So we can see a little chart here, which for me is the best way of consuming these double game weeks. These are all from Ben Krellin Stats. This is the transfer algorithm. Make sure you follow the transfer algorithm on Twitter. The guy's name I will find for you. But pretty much he puts it all in sort of likelihood based on bookies odds and Ben Crellin's statements. So, for example, the game week 22, you'll see 2 teams are forecast to double there, Man United and Leeds. The reason that's not guaranteed is because there could be an FA Cup replay there.
Yeah.
And if there is, the double game week will be cancelled. But as things stand, it's in there, that double game week. The game week 23 is absolutely nailed for Man City and Arsenal. And the guy to follow is the transfer algorithm. It's Mikel Tokvam, at Mikel Tokvam on Twitter. So that's cool. That's great. We expect some more doubles to be dropped in, but game week 25, have your eyes on it. There is a very big chance this is a very big blank game week. I say very big. There'll be 4 teams affected, and it depends on who gets to the Carabao Cup final. If Man United and Newcastle both win their semi-finals, they're in the final. Therefore, the chances of their opponents also blanking is higher. So you can see Newcastle there. They've got a good chance they'll blank. Same with United because they're the bookies' favourites. And I think they play Brentford. And I think based on those numbers, they play Brighton. So you can expect blank game weeks for those 4 teams. So if, for example, you're looking at bringing in a third Man United asset because you think in game week 22, United have got a double game week, I want to buy Bruno or I want to buy whoever. Yeah. Just bear in mind, there's a good chance they blank in 25. And we've all got Shaw and Rashford. We've all got Trippier and Almiron, or maybe Pope. Therefore, you've already got 3, 4, 5 players blanking. It's just err on the side of caution, maybe, or strike when the iron's hot with players like Brighton, still buy them early, and then go, I'll worry about Brighton mids in 25 if they blank and I have to sell Solly March or Matoma. I have to sell them, but they've got 4 great fixtures now and they're scoring goals. So just keep an eye on those potential blanks, but also the potential doubles. What do you like about 22, Dean? Because Leeds and United, both with a double. United's would be at home to Leeds and at home to Palace. That's got Rashford triple captain on it for those that might want to use the chip early.
Oh, it has. And I have already said I might not use mine on Haaland. So that is a good shout. I'm trying to think where else I'd go with a third Man United asset. Obviously, I'm getting rid of Martial, so he won't be around by then. I mean, Weghorst, I can't pick him on based on what we've seen so far. I'm not saying that's not going to work out. I think it actually might. Yeah, I mean, look, Anthony or Bruno might still be an option by then. So I think it'll be worth considering. From a Leeds point of view, like that's such a big fixture, Leeds Man United, and like
it is.
They hate each other, and especially like Leeds, like they really, really want to get this done. And when they first got promoted back to the Premier League, like how revved up they were to play Man United. Got a couple of mates that support Leeds, and they genuinely like hate them so much. The one thing you wonder, like this Leeds team, is they get so revved up. Jesse Marsh fires them up, and sometimes they just like get so emotional about fixtures, like it really might catch fire that match. But
they play Forest and United in the double, so it's a good. They're both away from home.
That is quite a good double, yeah.
But Forest, you could see attempts there, and even against United on the counter, Leeds could be strong.
Yeah, but Nonto might be a good player to look at. I mean, when he first started playing, like we were quick to point to him as like. Even in flashes, he was just showing magic. You've obviously seen a bit of him because you're watching Italy, and I was like, "Oh, I like this lad." When are we going to see him flourish? And since the World Cup, they've been like, "Right, you're ready to go now. You've graduated. You're ready to go. Your first team ready." And he's off and running. And do you know what? Worst picks.
Yeah, I like it. And if you're going United, like I think. Like Rashford and Shaw in loads of our teams. There'll be loads that own Martial that are thinking, I need to hold on to Martial now because he's got a double. But will he play in both those in the double? Even if he's fit by then, there's a good chance he can't play 2 in a week. So for me, Martial's an easy sell. Yeah. And look, the third United asset, I think De Gea's good value. You could look at other defenders, but Bruno's obviously going to get a lot of love. And there'll be loads that own KDB that might go to Bruno for that double and then might look to go back to KDB for game week 23 when he doubles. So a little bit of okey-dokey there, maybe.
Yeah. No, it's a really interesting one. That sorry, there's some lights flashing up on my TV in front of me. The Bundesliga is about to start.
Oh, joy!
RB Leipzig are playing Bayern Munich tonight. They've had like this league's been stopped for almost 3 months. It's like absolutely outrageous.
And today's the first day back, is it?
Today is the first day back since the World Cup. It's unbelievable. It really is. It's almost like
how are they going to catch up with all their fixtures? Like, are they going to just go to like
15 games?
July?
I think some of the teams have got like 4 games in the next week or something. Like, sorry, I know this is totally off the beaten path, but I was just like looking up to see why the screen's going so crazy. It's because the Leipzig fans can't believe they're finally going to see their team play again.
We
Yeah,
got a question from Michael about Nonto,
yeah,
asking if he's nailed. And look, there's some strength in depth now at Leeds. He is still now, when Nonto's playing like he's playing, he's not dropping out that team. Like Sinistero could come back, sure. Bamford, Rodrigo, there could be a front two, or they could both play. They've bought a new striker. It doesn't matter. If Nonto's playing like he's playing, he's the star boy at Leeds. Also, remember, Somerville's out injured. The likes of Jack Harrison, however, who historically has been an absolutely nailed player in that Leeds team, well, he is dropping out. He is in and out. But someone like Nonto playing like he's playing, don't worry. If you're picking Nonto this week, do not worry about lack of minutes. He's fine for the next few. He'd have to have a big dip in form to lose his place.
Interesting. I actually want to pick up this question here from Punter while it's there, because actually I'm interested in this too, and you probably know the answer. So Kane got an assist from that one that Emerson scored, but Edison didn't for Mahrez's. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, it's a good question. Intended target is important. I genuinely think FPL made an error with the Edison one. Like, for me, that's an assist all day long.
Okay, yeah.
You could say he wasn't looking at Mahrez, he was looking at someone else. He didn't aim for Mahrez. The Harry Kane one's interesting because Harry Kane's was a shot come cross. Now, if you deemed it a cross, you would say it was a bad cross. It didn't reach its intended target. If you deemed it as a shot, then shots that are parried by goalkeepers into the player that scores the goal are given as an assist. So this was deemed a shot, despite it looking like it was off target. It was deemed a shot, and therefore it fell to was it Emerson Royale, and therefore that counts. Just like if you have a shot from 40 yards, the keeper parries it, and Harry Kane taps it in, it's the same way. It's an assist.
Okay, very interesting.
So yeah,
nice one. Appreciate that.
We got some good questions in the chat around transfers. So yeah, we'll come back to this transfer algorithm like every show between now and probably the end of the season, because the numbers will change, but it's really useful just to have an idea. So keep tuned on our Monday and Friday streams. We'll keep posting screen grabs of this great algorithm. Make sure you're following Mikel on Twitter as well. But transfer questions, Dean. I mean, take your pick. There's some from Zaniolo. There's a few
Zaniolo one was the Zaniolo one. I saw that pop up a minute ago too. FPL River. Oh, right, Dean
Spurs
and
West
FPL
Ham,
River. Yeah. I mean, Spurs is the one that makes the most sense. Remember, I think I said on here, I've definitely said it at least on a couple of podcasts, that Tottenham's big priority is to find a player that is a bit more like Kulusevski. They don't feel they've got enough creativity, enough ingenuity in the team, particularly if Kulusevski's missing. They have nothing. There's been a couple of games when Tottenham have been dead. I think it was the Aston Villa game. Was like, there's nothing here. There's no reason to feel like this team's going to score. Such a bland performance. So I wasn't surprised at all when I saw Tottenham linked to Zaniolo. Obviously, love the Serie A market as well. It's what they know. Yeah. West Ham linked to Zaniolo. I mean, West Ham just look at too many players. It's simple. They literally like scattergun across Europe, and then they see where they land, and they genuinely do go after 2 or 3 players at the same time to see which one progresses in the way that best suits them.
Yeah,
and then they'll narrow it down and just start pushing them aside to narrow in on the one they actually want. So
like I know that thought that was happening and it just didn't happen. It's like, okay, you've got loads of those types of players.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
That's the thing. And even for the players, I think it's quite frustrating, because I think it sounds like from agents I speak to, it is difficult to get a grasp on whether you're the player they even really want, or whether you're just like a player they might want. So it's difficult. I think it's probably part of West Ham's problem at times, in that players opt to go elsewhere because they're not sure West Ham truly want them. At the moment, I'm sure if Zaniolo had a choice, he'd go to Tottenham, because obviously very different things you're fighting for.
Yeah. Good stuff, guys. Thank you for your questions in the chat. We'll get back to some by the end of the show. Make sure you're hitting that like button. We've got over 200 of you watching. We always peak around 7:30, I'm sure. So please hit that like button and, of course, subscribe if you don't already. Mondays and Fridays at 7 p.m. We've got our team reveals coming up next. Just want to pick out a question from Siman, asked about Kepa or Ward in goal. So we'll answer that question in our team reveals because I think these are the keepers we've got. Are you on Kepa and Ward, Dean? You got both of them. Yeah, and I've got both as well. So let's see who Dean's going for and see who I'm going for in our team reveals up next.
Sounds good.
Here we go. I think you'll be up first, your Walton Rifles.
Usually the Walton Rifles get to lead the way. Not been doing too bad, to be honest. I still feel, I was looking at my team though last night and I was like, oh, it's starting to look a bit messy to me. I don't like it at the moment. It doesn't feel like it's got any direction in terms of where there's a couple of players that okay, like even like Almiron, Martial, Kane, even De Bruyne after being left out. I don't know. Haaland's not scoring enough. I'm not really satisfied about where I am. I've got green arrows in like all of my leagues, apart from our actually chasing green arrows mini league that I'm in with like 5 of us. So apart from that league, I'm doing okay. Let's just see.
That's because Mustafa captain Bruno, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah,
38 points there.
The guy that runs this show really did run the show by picking him. I've just looked. My overall rank. Oh, I've dropped out the top million.
Yeah, you're 1.1, aren't you?
That is not good. That hasn't happened all season. So
it's because there was loads of triple captain Haalanders, so you lost out there for 8 points. You were 8 points down, and 8 points is huge.
Well, at least I've still got that up my sleeve. Then that's true. Like I guess I've got that going for me. But yeah, I'm not really happy with this. The way it's looking. I'm not taking a hit this week. I took a hit last week or the week before, so I don't want to be doing that again. Just trying to see in the comments.
Goal. You gone Kepa over Ward?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't my set team, by the way, people. This is very open for interpretation and any direction from anybody really at this point. To be honest,
I'm going Kepa. He's off the back of a 10-pointer. And surely Brighton score, don't they? Brighton have got goals in them at the moment.
Yeah. Liverpool might not. Liverpool might not score. So yeah, I will stick with Kepa. Those 3 at the back will stay. The midfield will stay. I'll stick with Haaland, even though he's out of form. Kane, sadly, will stay because he's playing against Fulham, even though I think we'll beat Tottenham on Monday. Actually, I think he'll score.
Is that Craven Cottage?
Yeah, that's a good point. I won't be here on Monday, people. I'll be at Craven Cottage. But yeah, on Monday, yeah, Fulham play Tottenham, and I think Fulham will win 2-1. So that's my hot tip again. But yeah, Kane, I presume, will score the goal, and then Martial is going to be replaced at the moment by Danny Ings, as it stands. So yeah, let's
not Nonto.
Not Nonto, I don't think. This isn't definite. Tonight I've got a lot of thinking to do.
You've got options. You have got options. Guys in the chat, let Dean know who you think he should replace Martial with. He's got 0.4 in the bank, so we can spend 7 million on a forward. Give us some names, and I hope you enjoyed those close-up shots.
Yeah, don't do that again.
I like to just comb my eyebrows with my hand.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I do not like this. Tony is not a bad shout, but unfortunately, John, he plays for Brentford and I support Fulham, so that's another barrier to me doing well in FPL. FPL Tiger says, "Nice watch, Gianni." What is it?
I'm so Premier League loyal that I went with the official Premier League timekeeper, which actually I don't think it is Tag anymore. It used to be Tag. It's now Hublo, who I think Jose Mourinho has a Hublo watch, and I think he might be the face of the brand. But yeah, it's a long story, this watch, and how I got this. It's not stolen.
It's a nice story. But
my dad's house was burgled, and so there is a link with theft. And he had some jewelry stolen, and it was like Italian gold chain or whatever from when he was a kid. and they gave him vouchers for the jewelers, and he was like, I don't need to go and buy jewelry at my age. Like my dad's doesn't wear jewelry.
Yeah.
So he gave me the vouchers. I was like, oh great, I've got some good money to spend
No
in the jewelers
way.
here. So I went and got myself a
Oh, that's
Tag
cool.
watch. And I
That
don't
is
know
cool.
why I picked Tag, but at the time, Tag were definitely the official timekeeper of the Premier League. And I think subconsciously that had something to do with my decision.
Wow, that like you need to let marketing people at
Yeah.
the company hear about that, because that'll be a massive tick for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, other people that people are suggesting to me, Martial to Bamford, no chance.
He's not going to start Bamford. I know he scored a couple in the week, but he's not ready.
I just can't trust him, mate. Like, yeah, it's his. He is. If he was fit, like I would 100% consider that. I just don't trust that he might like get injured in the warm up. Just can't trust the guy. And Ketia, Steve.
Don't mind that.
I don't mind it. I don't think, to be honest, I want a third Arsenal asset for this fixture. I don't know.
They do have a double in 23, but yeah, it's fair.
Yeah.
Do you want to go?
I think I'd rather just get away from this fixture. And have some investment in a totally different game. Dean says solid team, just missing some Danny Ings. Exactly. Alvarez is a good option, says Ashish.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his price, Alvarez, because I assume he's more than 7 million. Christ, he's 6 million.
He's 6 million.
When he becomes a starter, look, he was in at the weekend. He was in on Thursday night instead of De Bruyne. He played that role. Surely De Bruyne is back in, and then Alvarez is back on the bench. Because you think Alvarez could play in the Mahrez role, but Mahrez isn't getting dropped anytime soon.
Mahrez is in the form of his Man City career at the moment, so there's no chance that's happening. Oh, you wouldn't have thought anyway. Who knows with Pep?
Yeah.
But
imagine if he drops Mahrez on the weekend, you wouldn't be surprised, would you?
You wouldn't. You actually wouldn't. Like the guy's absolutely crazy. His brain doesn't work like the rest of us. Frode says get Nonto.
I'm very team Nonto, but that's because I've just been pushing it hard for about a month, so I need him to perform.
I want him. I do. I really, really like the guy. I think he's great.
Home to Brentford. It's a good fixture. Ellen Road.
It is a good fixture.
And Leeds score way more than West Ham.
They do, but West Ham do get chances, and they just don't take them. I don't know. There's some.
FPL River, get Nonto, make Gianni smile. I need Nonto somewhere in my team, and like it would feel like he was in my team if he was in yours.
You can't get him, so you're going to give him to your B team, which is me.
My project here. Well, Isak says Kwanda.
Maybe that's what we should have done. You just recommend progressive players that I just stick into my team, and you take them off me as they start to become good.
Yeah, because I've got to the point where I'm scared to go on too many punts because it's like it can kill your overall rank.
I haven't got as much to lose. You've got a whole reputation in this game.
Honestly, speaking of punts, we should have a look at my team because I am keeping a guy who's a massive punt up top. I think he's 3% owned. Look, Nonto's 0.5% owned, but Kai Havertz is still in my team, ladies and gents. He was meant to be in my team for a 1-week punt. Game week 17, Chelsea played Bournemouth off the back of unlimited transfers. I went Havertz, and I promised myself it was for 1 week because I like the fixture. He then went and got 12 points. I couldn't sell him. He was clearly Chelsea's number 9. They were about to have a double game week. He stayed in. He had a couple of blanks. He got 6 points at the weekend, just gone. He could have had a hat-trick of headers against Palace. And now he's playing Liverpool, which, again, I earmarked this as a week I would sell him. But the way Liverpool have been playing, their XG against Wolves in the week was 0.15. Wolves' was like 1.5. I know they won the game, but they have not turned a corner by any stretch. And I think Havertz is going to get chances galore again. So, look, I've earmarked the Fulham fixture to where I sell Havertz, but look, maybe he stays another week then. But no, Nonto has a double game week coming up. I think I'll probably end up going Havertz to Nonto. But for the time being, he's in my team. The rest of the team, Kepa's in goal. I've got Luke Shaw benched. I can play Shaw or White. Like you, Dean, I want to steer clear of this fixture, but I have to play one of them because Patterson's out injured. I mean, where would you go there with White versus Shaw? I'm backing Arsenal slightly over the clean sheet.
Yeah, I think it makes more. I think you got it right. Yeah,
even with Shaw's assist threat being perhaps a bit higher.
Yeah, I still think you got it right. I think there's more chance. I'm
sticking with that.
Yeah.
And then I've got Martinelli and Rashford in. I'm going to that game actually, Man United Arsenal, which I'm very excited about.
Oh, are you?
I've not been to. I don't think I've seen Arsenal in the Premier League ever.
Haven't you?
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I've been to the Emirates a few times, but never Premier League.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that'd be fun. The only sell I considered this week, firstly, I needed Ake to start. The fact Ake started again on Thursday, I was like, yeah, he's going to play against Wolves. We hope.
Yep.
He looked good at left back. He looks actually better at left back than centre back because they often will play Rico Lewis right back with Ake left back, and then it becomes a back three when Rico Lewis steps into midfield. Ake is kind of left of the back three, which is where we see him play for Holland so well. And when we saw him play at Bournemouth for a long time, which is why City saw so much in him. My only other move was, do I sell Almiron? And the reason I'd want to sell Almiron is I really want a Brighton midfielder in my team. And there are three very good options. McAllister's a good option now on pens, playing number 10. But the two best options are Matoma on the left and March on the right. And I think, given the choice, I'd go Solly March. His touch maps are incredible. He looks like he's got a real goal threat now. He's a different player. But Almiron does have Crystal Palace, and I might just give Solly March one more week to decide, is it March or is it Basuma? But they do go to Leicester, and I do think there's goals in Brighton away at Leicester. So what do you reckon on that one, Dean? Keep Almiron for another week or jump onto Brighton now? I mean, Brighton do probably have a blank in 25, but so do Newcastle. So that balances itself
I
out.
think you can get off him, to be honest. I don't think you're going to miss a lot. I think that's the key. Like, he's had such a hot spell. It can't last all season. Like, this isn't. He's not a trailblazer in that sense. Like, I'm pleased for him that, like, he's been able to show what he's actually capable of. But yeah, I think it's probably a good moment, and I'm sure, like, if he's 41% owned still, that actually surprised me if he is still that highly owned, because I can see people from this week starting to jump off him.
Yeah, FPL the Wyvern says, jump on Brighton now. I'm bringing in Matoma. I've been down on for March a few minutes ago, said Chris. Loved that. So loads are looking at that move. And I think it's a matter of time, as you say, Dean, like that percentage, 41% starts dropping. I'm happy not having Almiron for the West Ham fixture next week. Yeah. Crystal Palace aren't bad at home. They've just drawn with United. He'll be up against Tyrick Mitchell, who's a very good defender. So yeah, maybe it is a sell. Maybe if I make the move, it'll be tomorrow morning. That's what I'm looking at. I mean, comments in the chat saying, considering Rodrigo, I could go Almiron to Rodrigo. Ward-Prowse is another one. But no, if I'm going a midfielder at similar price, it's actually lower than Almiron. It's March or Matoma, which leads me to probably the $1 million question in my head. And maybe if I was absolutely sure which one, then I would have made that move already. But because I'm still indecisive over Matoma or March, because whoever I go with, I'm probably going to be keeping for a few months. What do you reckon, Dean? Who would you... I mean, Matoma's got the flair, probably the better player, but in terms of FPL points of late, March has been outperforming him.
I'd say exactly, and I'd say you're probably going to have to look at consistency. March is a good performer, and I think, look, is he going to get the same score as last time out? Unlikely, right? But yeah. I think you're still looking at a consistent performer here, and I would trust him in a fixture like that, to be honest.
Yeah, CH says the only thing that's made me leaning towards March is he's a bonus machine. He has a higher XA as well. I think March is on some of the set pieces. Let me know in the chat if I'm wrong there, but I don't think. Well, Matoma is not on set pieces, and I think March is on some of them.
Yeah. I do think we are starting to. I mean, in the last show, we start to talk about the fact that Haaland is captained by everybody at the moment. Like, if they're 85% owned, like I'm guessing 82% have him captain. Do you think, on the back of what's happened so far since the World Cup, we are actually getting to a point where people are going to start mixing it up a bit?
Yeah, and I think a lot of our decisions will probably be forced around doubles. I think we always love a double game week player. So next week, for example, Haaland goes to Spurs and Rashford or any United player or Leeds player will have a double. So no one's really going to be captain Haaland next week. Again, the week after that in 23, it's Man City and Arsenal with a double. So yeah, you'll captain the double game weekers. But we're going to see loads of small double game weeks now. So for those weeks, I think we'll jump off Haaland. But on these single game weeks, I still feel like, and Graham asked FPL Focus captain thoughts, I still feel like the world and their dog will still be captaining Haaland for Wolves at home. Maybe if Rashford had a good fixture, we'd consider him because of Rashford's form. Maybe if Kane had a very good fixture, we'd consider him. But Kane away at Fulham's not easy. Rashford away at Arsenal's really tough. So Haaland still feels very obvious. If I had Mahrez, though, I'd look at it.
Yeah. Do you know what? This is the sort of game where Haaland just bags a hat-trick.
Yeah, it is.
It's the sort of game where, like, yeah, Wolves are improved and all of this, but it's also the sort of game where Man City are like, don't treat us like we're mugs. Like, here we go, 5-0. Like you can see it. It wouldn't be that strange for that to happen.
Yeah.
And like Haaland just eating them up. Like that's the problem with this like triple captain question over Haaland. Like he could do it at any moment. He could just grab these chances. So it is an interesting debate as to, and I do hope that people do start to vary that captain's armband, because it's what's going to make FPL more open this season and give people a chance to move rank.
Yeah, genuinely, a dip in form for Haaland would be brilliant for me. I'd love that. I'd love captaincy to be a legitimate question every single week. And there are some weeks where it becomes a talking point. But when Haaland has a good fixture, especially at home, it just still feels very set and forget for the vast majority, including myself, which makes the game a little bit more boring.
Yeah, Paul says Trippier cap. And do they have any doubles coming up? Do they have any doubles?
Oh, they don't, annoyingly. We can, I don't know if we can load that chart up again, but from the top of my head, they don't have any doubles forecast either. I don't think they're owed a great deal, if any, fixtures. So they'll get a double off the back of reaching the Carabao Cup final.
I was going to say, what if they got to the Carabao Cup final?
Yeah. So if they get to Carabao, let's have a look. So Newcastle, here we go, middle table. So 0.33 and 25. So if they do blank, then they will be given a double. And that double, I think, will fall in 29.
Okay, I see. That would be massively appealing, wouldn't it? Like a Trippier double captaincy. To stick him on that week, on a double game week, would be really tempting.
It would be. I mean, look at that game week 29, though, Dean. Like that week, so many teams are that's going to be a huge double game week, to the point where loads of us will probably bench boost or free hit in that week, or some might even, because 28 is going to be a blank game week and 29 will be a big one. What loads might do is dead end their team to 28, picking players that you know are going to play, and then wildcard out of 28 into 29, setting yourself up with a really nice 11 players playing twice. Although you might look at it and go, that's a bench boost week where maybe I can get 15 playing twice. But the teams that blank in 28, loads of the teams that blank in 28 will double in 29. So, for example, there won't be many teams where you can go, they play in 28 and they play twice in 29. There'll be an opposite effect there.
Right.
So, for example, Liverpool, they're likely to blank in 28. But then that also likely to double in 29. So do you really want to be selling your Liverpool assets? Well, no, not if they've got a double round the corner, which is why selling them after 28 in a wild card could pay off.
Yeah.
You dead end your team in 28, you wild card in 9.
Yeah, that's a good point. FPL Tiger, by the way, says he thinks Kane is going to score 2 versus Fulham. Ooh. And he's considering captaining him. Like, without being too, but like obviously, like I've already said, I think Fulham will win that game 2-1. But look, from a genuine like standpoint, Fulham don't really concede goals. Like we're a really solid team. Like going through like the fixtures that we've had since the World Cup, like nobody's scored more than once against Fulham so far since then. And even if you go back to before the World Cup, Man United scored 2, but like it was literally in the 96th minute or whatever it was that Garnacho scored that winner. And like we're just not a team that really gets battered. We've only been battered once when Newcastle beat us 4-1. And that was because we had 10 men for like 80 minutes. So it's not really a fair reflection of the game. So of course it could happen, but given the way that we've seen this Tottenham team play, given the type of chances that Kane's actually been getting in these matches at the moment, I think he certainly can score 1. I would actually be surprised if Fulham gave up 2 goals in that game.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Fulham are, I think I do this with some of my transfers, and in the tickers, Fulham are always a green fixture because they've been rated as a newly promoted team, but they're not playing like a newly promoted team. This is a top 8 team, you know?
It's funny, as a guy I know that works at a betting company, and he sent me a tweet today, and he said, "You'll be pleased to know that we've put Fulham back into our odds for title winners this season." Because basically you only ever list like 6-7 teams or whatever, and they've pushed Fulham back into the reckoning, which just goes to
1
show.
Or something, but still,
whatever it is. But the whites are flying high.
Love that. So there's my team. I can tell you now the only move I might make, and I'm still on the fence. I was actually like very unlikely to make it until talking it through with you guys. Thank you for that. I am thinking that Almiron to March move could be one I look at. I'm probably I'm probably still 60-40 against it, but I am considering it, and I'll check price rises tonight, but I'm guessing there's not going to be any movement, and therefore I've got tomorrow morning to consider that. In fact, as we speak, I'm just going to check. Almiron isn't going up, isn't moving anywhere, and March. Oh, March could go up in price tonight. Okay, March probably will go up in price tonight. Matoma won't, but March, who already has had a price rise, March, is due to also rise tonight alongside Mahrez, Bruno Fernandes, Odegaard, Pope, Fabian Schär, and Ferguson of Brighton. So there, and Ake. So there's a few due to rise.
Well, T21 says he thinks March is a trap. He doesn't believe in it.
Well, I spoke to Jules Breach about this just before we went on air, and I joined her on the Premier League show, and I was asked to do some buy or sell, and I said buy Solly March. And I said to her, she's a Brighton fan, would you buy Solly March? She said, I've actually just bought Matoma. I said, okay, given the choice now, would you buy Matoma or March after what we saw last weekend? She still said Matoma, and she watches a lot of Brighton, and she said, maybe this is me being a Brighton fan, though. I've got this image in my head of Solly March being the player he's been, which is a very good performer, but not the most explosive FPL asset. But as a neutral, I can view Solly March as someone I've never really looked at or watched closely, and now has become a thing. And I just look at him and go, fresh pair of eyes in a De Zerbi system, playing in a front three, not a wing back, as we saw him a lot under Potter. And go, yeah, he's actually a real player. But I can imagine if you've watched him for the last 5 years closely, you go, no, Matoma's a different level. And Matoma does look fantastic. So I'm still edging towards March, but I really appreciate the input of some Brighton fans that will say, no, go Matoma.
No, I like that. It's interesting to get the variation.
Yeah. And it does seem the guys in the chat are a little bit more March heavy, which is good. Other than, the 21 that does think he's a trap, which is also a fair point. And Jules does FPL Focus do a great job on BT Score. It's my go-to watch on a Saturday. It beats the Soccer Saturday on Sky for me. I much prefer the BT option. Guys, we've got 10, 12 minutes left of the show. Please do hit that like button if you can. And remember, we do these shows on Mondays and Fridays at 7, so please do hit that subscribe button as well. Next up, though, we've got Against the Obvious. This is loads of fun. Here we go.
First. Yeah.
Is that me? Oh, gosh. I did pick Almiron.
That surprises you every week, this.
Oh, it really does. Okay, guys, here are 60 seconds worth of reasons why you shouldn't put Almiron in your team. Now, look, he's in my 11. Am I looking at selling him? Yeah, I genuinely am exploring that. If I don't sell him this week, I do think he'll be out in the next couple. And this isn't that Almiron's a poor pick. It's that Newcastle blank in 25, but also the goals have dried up. And I think with Almiron, the goals we were seeing earlier in the season, yes, they were fantastic goals, but he was scoring worldies. You can't, these low XG chances that players like Almiron have been scoring usually aren't sustainable unless you're just scoring worldies and you've got a track record of doing that over years. Well, he's shown he hasn't got that. He's just hit a few very clean strikes and deserved some incredible goals, but I don't think it's sustainable. So Newcastle look like a fairly low scoring team at the minute, but they're not explosive. They're winning games by one goal. They're scoring one goal a game, or they're not scoring in a game. They are keeping clean sheets. The value in Newcastle is at the back. There's an argument to triple up at the back. Almiron isn't needed anymore. And at 41% ownership, that's going to dip big time. When Brighton are scoring goals for fun, look at March Matoma. There's other options too.
Yeah. I mean, we've obviously touched on this already in the show today. I mean, I'm keeping him for now, but I can definitely see me jumping off this one in the not too distant future. It'll be interesting, as I say, how many people do jump off of this guy this week, because I bet that your theories there are probably being echoed throughout the community at the moment.
Yeah. Do you know what? Loads of the community seem to be going, I like that move. I want to go Brighton mid, but they just want to wait a week to watch Brighton and go, is it Matoma or March? Because it's so cloudy, and you just know you don't want to be wasting transfers on budget mids. You want to make that right decision. But I genuinely don't think one more week's going to tell us. Like, we've seen enough of them. I think you just have to make your bed. I think I'll probably end up with March if I go there.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Right. Let's see who I'm gonna slate. Oh, Kai Havertz. Here we go.
My boy.
He's resetting the clock for me. I don't even need a full 60 seconds for this one, to be honest, because I don't have that much stats to back it up. It's more of an eye test. Just don't fancy him. I mean, just watching his body language up close when Fulham played against Chelsea, didn't feel like he was a threat. Obviously, was more of a threat when João Felix was on the field. Soon as João Felix wasn't there, didn't feel like he was that same player. I think that he needs special players around him. Don't think there's enough of those at Chelsea at the moment. If you look through what he's managed this season, hasn't scored in back-to-back Premier League games so far this season. He's only scored once in back-to-back games all season. That was in October when he scored against RB Salzburg and then scored in a 4-1 defeat against Brighton. Hasn't been on any great scoring streaks. He's got 2 goals since the World Cup. 1 in a home win against Bournemouth, 1 in a home game against Crystal Palace. I'm looking at the weekend as Chelsea go to Liverpool. I just don't think that this is a game when you really need Kai Havertz in your team.
Come on, Kai. Come on, Kai. You can do this.
I also did this a little bit to wind up Gianni, because he's a true believer in this man. I've never known someone show such commitment to the cause.
I've spoken about this guy as someone that should and could in years to come be in the Ballon d'Or reckoning.
I have too, but I don't think I've done it in FPL terms. And
You're right about having good players around him, though. I do watch him and think he's on that wavelength where he's got great synergy with the likes already of Felix. Like you saw that 58 minutes at Fulham, and I know Havertz didn't look brilliant in that game, but just the movement between him and Felix and some of the link-up play already was showing really good signs. I thought he's on that wavelength of an elite player.
Yeah. What I really mean as well, when I say like when I was watching him, I wasn't scared. Like he looks like he's lazy and lethargic.
Yeah.
That's not real. He's not
It's
actually
his running style, isn't it?
It's his style, and it's also like he finds the game very easy, and he can do things that very few other players can.
So technical,
like he can get the ball in such a tight space and get out of it. He can see things that nobody else can. Like the guy genuinely is a magician on the ball. Like there are very few players that are actually as good as Kai Havertz. But in FPL terms, particularly the role that he's playing right now, I'm just not convinced of it, to be honest. And I just wouldn't touch him.
Do you know he's a good headerer of a football. His timing's often good, and when he does connect, he often can find corners, as we saw last week. But he doesn't score enough with his head, and he gets a huge amount of chances. Like you forget, Kai Havertz is big. Like he's a bit of a unit, and he is strong. I know he's gangly, but he's also got strength there. Like I remember watching him against Newcastle last season, and him and Dan Burn were having a tussle like constantly. And it was the game he elbowed Dan Burn in, and then didn't get sent off, and then went and scored the winner. And I owned him in FPL for that very well. But he bullied Dan Burn. Dan Burn's 6'6" and strong. And I was like, Havertz got the better of him. He can mix it up. And with his size, knowing when he's playing number 9, knowing how Chelsea can get good crosses in, especially when the likes of Reece James are fit, I want to see him score way more headed goals, because I think he could be a real force, because he makes the most intelligent runs and he does connect well with the ball. But yeah, for me, he's just a little bit off in terms of his conversion rates.
Yeah, exactly. John sums it up. Unsettled Chelsea 11 doesn't help him. I do agree with that. CH says, isn't it around now that it's the first anniversary of chasing green arrows? Show your appreciation with a big like. I mean, I think it was Feb, wasn't it? I think we started it in Feb. I don't know.
Yeah, but that was me and you, wasn't it? There was loads of videos before that, which we
true. Yeah. Well, I think
Chasing
like Green Arrows itself has been going a while. But this show specifically, it is around the year.
Yeah.
Instead of a like, my PayPal is. No, it's been good though.
It's been that long, me and you, for a year. Yeah,
I think we are getting there. Yeah, and thanks for everyone that's been here since then. And like, we're obviously trying to grow this. So please do, within your FPL communities, like let people know that we're here. Like, we like to have a laugh as well as do the serious stuff. But like, I think I've improved as a player just from the chats that we have here on a Monday and a Friday. And that's not just because Gianni's giving me all the tips, but because you guys are as well. And I think that we can all help each other in these circumstances. So it's good, isn't it? We're having a good little chat here.
Yeah, mate. I love our Mondays and Fridays at 7. Like it's It's a good look at FPL. I think it's a healthy look at FPL as well. Like, we don't take it too seriously, but we genuinely want to improve our ranks, and we care about our ranks. Just an update, I'm having a good season. Loads that asked me about my rank. I'm around 200k, which I'm happy with.
Nice.
I mean, the aim is still top 10k, and what this show will really help you with, and look, most FPL content creators will tell you the same thing. Watch their shows, you're going to get huge advantages around those double game weeks and blank game weeks, and that's where you steal a march on a lot of your mates and your mini leagues from work or your friendship groups from school, whatever, where perhaps they're not engaged FPL managers. They're more 10 minutes on a Friday, and they're not invested in FPL content. Therefore, they're not always aware, and they can't plan for the blanks and doubles. When we get them, expect to see huge rank gains from everyone watching this show. You'll get that around the blank in 28 and the double in 29, for example. We'll be telling you when we think you should be using your chips. We'll give you lots of different strategies as well. Like, there's no right or wrong answer, but we'll give you a few of our favorite options as we move towards those blanks and doubles in the coming weeks.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely.
Loads of good questions in the chat. We can perhaps pick a couple out for the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, sorry. Before we do that, I want to read Dean's comment because I love this.
Go
He
on.
said, I've just subbed to this channel last week and I adore it. You guys play the game the same as me. It's like being down the pub with mates. With some creators, it feels like being in a classroom again. And I agree with that. Like, to be honest, I'd never really taken in FPL content. I just played it casually. I was always been reasonably good at it and taking it pretty seriously, but I hadn't really watched shows around it. Since we've done it in the last year or whatever, I have like glanced at some other shows. Sometimes I'm amazed that people can sit there for 2 hours and watch as someone, just kind of talks at them and points to all these. It's like being in a maths lesson. You're right, Dean. It is a bit like that at times. And that's obviously the feel that we're going for here. So thanks. And I'm glad that you are enjoying it, Dean. And thanks for subscribing. That's really cool. Right, Michael says to you, before we get to that, I was going to say Bruno essential. Do you think we're getting to that point?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay swerving Bruno. I know he's got the double, and I might go there, but I'm not absolutely sold on the idea. Let's see him another week. He's had a good week, but let's not forget this is a Bruno that's been pretty shot shy. Like, he's not been scoring goals, he's not been taking shots either. So yeah, if we're captaining Rashford already, we're already eggs in baskets. Do we want to really load up on Triple United, knowing they'll probably blank in 25? I'm not so sure.
Yeah. The question that was on screen was from Michael. He said, Mitrovic hold or sell to Tony. Honestly, I'd hold Mitro for this Tottenham game.
Would you?
Fulham, I think Fulham are playing really well. If he'd have been playing in that Chelsea game, I think it would have been a more convincing win. Carlos Vinicius did well and scored the winner, but Mitro brings so much to this team. And at the moment, Willian is playing out of his skin, like genuinely unbelievable. Other players who are playing in those wide positions and progressive areas like Andres Pereira are playing well too. Fulham have now got Manor Solomon, who was a summer signing, like a big summer signing too, back from fitness and pushing for more game time. I think that he will have a big impression on this team as well. So for that Tottenham game, I would keep Mitro.
Yeah, that's fair. I also think Brentford might struggle against Leeds. I think Leeds win that.
Yeah, could
FPL Big Ed, last question of the show. Cucurella to share or bank the transfer? Oh yeah, definitely sell Cucurella now. Like, Lewis Hall's playing very well at left back. Regardless, I don't think Chelsea keep it clean. You might want to look at Share, but if you want to save 0.5, genuinely, I know Share's got the better goal threat. I'd just go Botman at 4.4 and save 0.5.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much in it there.
Yeah, there's not enough, is there? No.
Yeah, that 0.5 would be really useful. Maybe not now. Maybe you don't think you need it now, but that will be useful at some point. We always miss out on transfers for 0.1 or 0.2. That 0.5 there's not a big enough gap between Botman and Shah in terms of goal involvement. And Botman, I think, might edge it just on bonus points as well. So yeah. Activated the wild card, says Dino. That is a lovely place to end.
What a nice feeling that must be, mate. Good luck with that one, Dino.
Yeah, have fun with that, Dino. Make sure you're confirming your moves tonight for those that are going up in value. You might be 0.1 short if you go tomorrow morning on a few of those. Guys, if you're just joining, make sure you go back and watch. We've had an awesome hour. Plenty of time to watch before tomorrow's deadline. Before you leave, if you want to give us a parting gift, just hit that like button. It helps the YouTube algorithm, apparently. So that'd be really cool. Like, subscribe. But for now, we'll be back on Monday or very close to it. He's been Dean. I've been Janny, and we've been chasing green arrows.